I told you Palmeiras was going to drop points. I told you to believe. Stop complaining, believe. They'll drop points and still have to play Santos. Away from home with Neymar on the field. Neymar, man, who left Maracanã with a Flamengo jersey on his shoulder, red and black. Neymar claims to be a Palmeiras fan, but he's red and black and will score against Palmeiras. Flamengo needed Palmeiras to slip up twice. One already did, man. It's already done, right? I want to remind you, man, we've got this. It's wild that I'm even talking about this game. They did everything to keep Palmeiras from dropping points, right? Flamengo must win this crucial match against relegated Sport, the 1987 Serie B champion. We have to win there. Palmeiras will slip up again, and Flamengo can still be champions. Let's believe. The championship is wide open. Both Palmeiras and Flamengo have strong chances. All our sponsors are there in the pinned comment. I'm here, right? I went for a walk instead of sitting and waiting for bad news. I'll check for updates to see if there's a goal or not, and so on. I'm here walking with Noik, right, Noik? We're taking a walk. I came here now to the bridge here. I heard Palmeiras lost a point. I said that was going to happen. Now I saw the play, okay? He fouled Carlos Miguel in one play, and right after that, Palmeiras goal. Palmeiras goal is immoral. Palmeiras goal is immoral. Palmeiras goal is immoral, okay? The foul was worse on Walter. They gave Palmeiras the goal from Vitor Roque. They did everything so Palmeiras wouldn't lose points, right? Mirassol lent them a plane, rented it. I don't know, man. They do everything, okay? Their actions are immoral. The refereeing again tries to help Palmeiras. It won't help. It's against everything and everyone. I truly believe in our titles in both the Brazilian Championship and Libertadores. Let's give it our all. Although Flamengo won 3-2 and allowed 2 late goals, the victory was still very important. That's what Flamengo is. It's for believers. The Rubro Negro always believes. It might happen that we don't win, it might, but we believe until the last minute of the last game. I will always believe. As long as there's 1% chance, I have 100% faith, 100% faith, okay? They did everything to help Palmeiras again, but failed. Flamengo is in the running, right? We are obviously still behind Palmeiras. They're still the leaders, but we're in it until the end. And they have tough games away from home. They're going to have games with missing players. They're going to have a lot. Flamengo will have it too. They're going to have to win every game. They're going to have to give it their all. It's going to be 6 finals for Flamengo from now on, 6 finals, but we have to believe. Being a Flamengo fan has never been easy. In 2020, Flamengo closed the same gap. Now we're closing it. In 2009, it was Palmeiras, and we closed it then too. So let's give it our all. Let's believe, guys, for God's sake. Don't quit early. Even with a 1% chance, keep full faith. And it's Flamengo, man, a really strong team, and Pedro will come back and still score a lot of goals.
Good evening. A game that ended up scaring us. Flamengo led 3-2, but then conceded 2 quick goals. But regardless of today's game, before the match, some fans were divided between believing that Flamengo can be champions. Some may have already thrown in the towel. I want you to think about that fan, who may have already given up. What can you say to him? To persuade him about Flamengo, no matter how they perform late in the game, what can Flamengo offer this fan today? Still think Flamengo can win both the Brazilian Championship and Libertadores?
Well, for this fan, believe just like we believe, especially the main characters in this story, who are the players on the field. That we can't have any doubt that we can win this title in 2020 or 2021. There we had a championship where the gap was even bigger in terms of points, and we still managed to become champions. Nothing is decided yet. There's nothing that needs to be calculated, nothing like that. I think it's 2 slip-ups, if I'm not mistaken, from Palmeiras and 2 wins from us. We know it's difficult because Palmeiras is a consistent team, just like ours. It will come down to the details, but we believe until the end. The players, coaching staff, and most fans believe as well, and we rely on their support, yes.
Thank you.
Leo, first of all, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've often been called the Shoppy Leo Pereira. Neymar commented during halftime that if Santos were to score, the ball would have to go through him. And coincidentally, the goals ended up happening. After he was substituted, did you notice any connection? Maybe the team's intensity dropped after Neymar left Santos?
Man, there's nothing to say about Neymar. He's a star. There's more tension and even a tighter marking, also tougher on him. We know we can't give him space. Suddenly, when he left, I think that's what made our team relax a little, and that shouldn't have happened. We relaxed and gave up 2 goals. But, like I said, we have to give our best on the field, regardless of whether Neymar is there or not.
Leo, Flamengo is in the most important stretch, but also maybe the most exhausting stretch of the season, both physically and psychologically. How do you deal with this final stretch of the Brasileirão? Also, knowing there's a crucial Libertadores final against Palmeiras at the end of the season, both in the psychological part as well as in the physical part. For example, in situations like today, Flamengo is winning 3-0. Maybe the players are easing up to avoid injury before the Brasileirão final, or maybe that's not it.
Everyone has their own thoughts. I'm really worn out from so many matches, but even so, I want to be there contributing on the field. And at this moment, at this stage of the season, you can't hold back at any time because it's the most important month of the year of our season. So we have to give everything on the field. Our best is so that we can reap the rewards and win titles, which are the Libertadores and the Brazilian Championship that we're fighting for now.
Thanks, guys.
In Flamengo's first game against Santos at Vila Belmiro, we saw they gave Neymar plenty of space. In today's game, Flamengo marked Neymar more closely and gave him little space. What changed from the game at Vila Belmiro to this game at Maracanã?
Neymar is a great player. We know we can't give him space because he'll be able to work his magic. So, like I said, we were really tough on him today. We knew we couldn't give him any space. So he's a player that if you give him space, he'll create things that can make things difficult for us. So we're happy that we managed to mark him and get the win.
Ayrton, at the beginning of the Brazilian national team's rebuilding process, you were called up a few times but ended up losing your spot. Do you believe you still have hope of coming back now with Ancelotti?
We always have hope. It only depends on me. I need to do my job here. It's a position that's very difficult, not just on the national team, but also at the club. There are 3 players who are national team players, so the competition is very tough. But I'm calm. Everything happens in God's time. I've been working hard. When I get the opportunity, I handle the job. So who knows?
There you go.
I'm talking a little about the game. Flamengo was in my state there, practically securing it with 3-0, and then at the end of the game, they conceded 2 goals. How does that happen? A win, even with the victory, serves as a lesson, especially already looking ahead to the Libertadores final. The same thing happened at the end of the Palmeiras game here at Maracanã. How are you learning from that, already thinking a little about the key points, especially for the Libertadores final?
It's not just me, but whoever plays does everything they can to avoid conceding a goal, right? So we ended up losing focus there. We started discussing this before and after the game. We always emphasize not conceding goals, right? Unfortunately, we conceded one. Good thing it didn't affect the result, or we would have been hurt. In the meantime, we need to stay focused, work hard, and make sure it doesn't happen in the next game. Thanks, guys.
Victor Nicolau, Flamengo Television. In the previous Federação Internacional de Football Association break, congratulations on the win, right? In the previous Federação Internacional de Football Association break, you had the rare opportunity to have the entire squad available.
And at that moment, you managed to fix some things that get lost along the way and create a new play, right? Which was that long ball stretched to the target man to create depth, and that way you almost scored a goal. Your team almost scored a goal against Botafogo, scored a goal against Palmeiras during a moment of pressure, and scored again. Today, when Voivoda had Santos press higher and found the goal from Carrasco, it was from the same play. During this upcoming Federação Internacional de Football Association break, right? Besides having a game against Sport, you're also going to be without 7 players, according to my count here, if I'm right. You're going to be without 7 players on your team.
What do you think can be worked on during this period despite these absences, considering what can be corrected that ends up coming up with the sequence? Thinking about what's coming up.
First, we need to, you can hear it, right? We really need to have training time. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, we're going to have a lot of call-ups, a lot of players who won't be at these training sessions. Because we need to recover behaviors, we need to recover concepts that have been lost in these last games. Today, during parts of the game, I don't recognize myself. When I see a team breaking apart or speeding up the game as much as it did, especially in the first half. So I urgently need time to train to recover these concepts and for the team to play the way I want them to play. So at some moments today in the first half, like I said, I didn't feel that. But those who will stay here, yes, they will have all the content and will be able to prepare for the game in the best way for the match against Sport.
Good evening, Felipe. This is Sidão Marinho from Eleitoral News. Flamengo's 3 crucial goals preserved the result despite a late team blackout. Did you enjoy explaining what happened? They were 2 quick goals, and it seems they expected the referee to end it at around 40 minutes. They ended up relaxing, conceded 2 goals, which fired up the match, really fired up Santos' team. Does that worry you for this crucial stretch? There are still Brazilian Championship games and the Copa Libertadores final. And how did you see this blackout from the team in the final stretch? But also a team that, despite conceding 2 quick goals, held on to win thanks to the 3 they scored. Thank you.
First of all, I hate conceding goals. That's something you all know about me very well. I really value the team's defensive phase. I give a lot of importance to that. I firmly believe that defense is the best weapon to win a championship. Having a solid, strong defense is key. It took a lot for us to get here with such low numbers of goals conceded. And this scare, we can call it a scare, should serve as a lesson for us in the Brazilian Championship and maybe even in world football. If you let your guard down, wait a minute, it costs a lot. We already know that. I've already told them. And it doesn't worry me. It doesn't worry me because it's a separate case, but it does hurt me. I repeat. I hate that this happens.
Bruno de Felipe, Léo José do Colombo do Fla. Even picking up a bit on the sequence here from Sidão's question, he asked why the team lowered their intensity, their focus at the end of the game. And I felt that there was a bit of a lack of a more direct answer. This lack of focus from Flamengo didn't just happen in this game against Santos, it also happened in some other matches, including against Estudiantes, for example, in the first leg of the quarterfinals. Is there any reason you can see, any reason why the squad drops off a bit? Intensity drops during the last 5 to 10 minutes of the game.
Against Estudiantes, we had Plata unfairly sent off. In that game, we were inside Estudiantes' box trying to score the 3rd goal. We had chances and we had an unfair sending off. So it's not fair to talk about that either. Today is a different case. Today it was 3-0. There were, I don't know, it was in the 42nd minute and we conceded a goal. And then we have to try to understand the moment that's happening on the field, which is Santos pressing, Santos coming to steal the ball. And it's not like Carrasco's goal. It's not at the feet anymore. It's in the space. And the players have to understand that. And on the field, that's my job, to make them understand. And we ended up inviting more pressure from Santos, who were, of course, believing they were in a better moment, and we ended up suffering, of course. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a blackout, but let this scare serve so that the players understand that the game only ends when the referee blows the whistle.
Good evening, Felipe. José Fernandez here for Derivas. I wanted to take you away from today's match for a moment and continue with something you were already asked about before regarding the Federación Internacional de Football Association date. Reports indicated Nico de la Cruz asked not to travel to Uruguay. to prepare better, to recover, to be physically well, we imagine, to be in good shape for the Copa Libertadores final? Did you talk to him, or did it come from him? Also, are you surprised Pulgar isn't being considered for his national team?
Honestly, I don't know about Nico not being called up. Has Uruguay's list come out?
Did it come out without Nico?
When today? No. The list is out? I didn't know. Honestly, for us, it's better because, like I said, it's better for him to stay training. He's a player who needs a series of training sessions, and it's better for him to stay. But at such a crucial moment of the season, we needed everyone to stay, honestly. But, well, that's how it is. The coaches also need to win with their national teams, and the players also want to serve them. And about Eric? For me, I've said it many times already. He could play for any national team in the world, right? And I don't know what happened, but I have no doubt that he's an important player for Chile. I assume they've considered Flamengo's season timing and that Chile has nothing at stake.
Felipe Raisa Simplicio here from Gold Brazil and Placar Magazine. You said you hate conceding goals, but Flamengo has allowed many lately, right? Something that's different from what was happening in your work before. You conceded 2 against Palmeiras, 2 against São Paulo, and 2 goals today. Anyway, why is Flamengo like this? Have you figured out why the team has been conceding so many goals and why its performance has been so inconsistent lately, or even within the same game?
Each goal we conceded happened in a different context. We played against Palmeiras. We conceded a goal while we were 1 man down. Then it was 3-1. And after that, Palmeiras scored a goal in the last minute. We faced the truth and conceded the goal. Against São Paulo, we gave up 1 goal due to our mistake and another while a man down. And today we conceded 2 goals in a childish way. So each game has a different context. The important thing is that the players value not conceding goals. Just like I value that. So, no. All the mistakes that are made are corrected. We try to correct them during the week. So, no, like I said, no, the goals are not repeating themselves in the same way. There isn't a pattern, there's a context and a context from game to game. Every game is different. Every opponent puts us in different situations. Some we solve better, others not so much, and due to seasonal pressure. That's why, because they're different opponents, it's not inconsistency. Different games, different opponents, different marking and attitudes. No, you're not always in control of the matches.
Good evening, Felipe Bruna Medeiros from Disfla. You played with Bruno Henrique again today, using a formation like in 2019, as you mentioned, against Sport, correct? As a duo, it worked. He scored. Tomorrow's hearing could bench Bruno Henrique for the season. Plata will miss the final, and Pedro is still questionable. You said that, right? Are you planning to give Juninho and Wallacean more minutes, especially with the upcoming final?
I think about putting in the players who, in my view, fit the characteristics the team needs and also the player's current form, and always thinking about what's best for the team. So I'll study it. I'll study sports team, and I'll put out the lineup that I believe is the best to win.
Felipe Heri, Natália Brasil, Rádio Roquete. Your defense is usually very consistent, but you lost an important part of that defense, which is usually made up of Leo Pereira as a starter and by Leo Ortiz. And since then, some mistakes have been made by the defensive sector. I think maybe even, Adding to my colleague's question, Flamengo conceded more goals. Do you think Leo Ortiz's absence is a key factor in that? And do you maybe think about giving more opportunities to other reserve defenders in the squad?
Which specific defensive mistakes, right? Because each goal happened in a different context. As I said, we conceded some while a man down and 1 on a counter-attack. Leo is a defender for the Brazilian national team, like Danilo and Leo Pereira. I repeat, the best level in Brazil. At this moment, mistakes happen during the games, right? So but each goal has a different context. If we were conceding goals always between the 2 center backs, the ball, or if any goal kept repeating, if it repeated, I would say there's a problem in the defensive sector. but the goals happened in different ways. There's credit to the opponent, yeah, and there are individual mistakes, like in the case against São Paulo, yeah, I don't know, yeah. Several other reasons that keep happening, and goals happen both for and against. My job is to identify what can be improved, even if we haven't conceded a goal. Because every game has defensive mistakes, even when we don't concede a goal. Even when, as you mentioned, Leo, we have a streak of 5 or 6 games without conceding a goal. Mistakes are made, and my job is to identify and correct them. So, of course, we hope that Leo comes back as soon as possible, because he's a very important player for us.
Felipe here. Good evening, Felipe. Yeah. There are constantly news stories about players out at night, players at parties. Obviously, you're not a babysitter for the players to keep track of what they're doing outside the training center. But I wanted to know from you, as a coach, when this kind of news comes out, when these things happen, how do you handle it on a daily basis? Do you let it go and just observe his behavior during training, or do you call him in, have a talk, and try to adjust the player's behavior outside the training center as well? Thank you.
Well, first of all, the control we have over the player is the time he spends at the club. So that's the control we have over him. That's when we control everything from sleep to the physical part, recovery. We provide all kinds of training. That's the part we can control. Everyone outside has their own life and does as they please. My job is to identify his performance on the field, both during training and how they are training and performing. I can select players for the field and assess their performance during the game. And from there, I always say the field speaks, the best will play. And if any player strays, he will definitely lower his performance and he will lose his place on the team. So in this case, my main concern is with the team. I always hope that all the players are as professional as possible, that they are 100% professional, simply so we can perform and always put Flamengo above everything else.
Felipe, good evening. Sean Liddington here from Feud the Papo channel. Just letting you know Mirassol scored. This directly influences Flamengo's planning for the next game. I wanted you to tell me what's on your mind, considering what the colleague mentioned. There's the hearing for Bruno Plata, who was sent off, and Pedro, still not confirmed. Changing Flamengo's formation, maybe even using Carrascal as a false 9. During this Federación Internacional de Football Association break, do you in any way think about maybe trying out new things with the team's formation to maybe fit in more midfield players? Thank you.
Well, first let's wait for the verdict, right? Let's wait and see what will happen with this. What will happen with Bruno Henrique? And then our team, our squad, it's structured in a very concrete way, right? With 2 fullbacks for each position, with center backs, with 6 defensive midfielders. So it's structured in a certain way. Within this existing structure, with the game model, we also make variations. We often change the system, which often goes unnoticed by many, but within the game itself, there are variations in the system. And for sure, one of the possibilities is to put one of these players in that role, definitely. However, other players would have to perform roles they haven't been performing. And maybe we wouldn't have the right players to change the system in that way. But for sure, during the night, a lot of ideas come, a lot. My mind doesn't stop. I'm constantly thinking of solutions and ideas to arrange the pieces in the best way so they fit. And so that these relationships on the field happen and the game flows as much as possible, right? Because when these things don't happen, you see a more mechanical game. So I always hope the team has good flow.
Felipe, how are you? Good evening. Gabriel Orphan, Paparazzo Channel, Rubem Negro, and Placa Magazine. Today we noticed a team with a very different attitude compared to the first round, right? The first round game at Villa stood out because the team seemed a bit off. It's even hard to explain, but maybe they didn't go in with that much drive. And today was very different, right?
Especially, of course, it was really marked because of Neymar in the first round game. Neymar is a key figure in Brazilian soccer, admired by many players. Still, there was much discussion about him on social media. It seemed like they were rolling out the red carpet for Neymar in the first round game. Today was different due to title marking. Did you give any instructions about that or make any comparisons? Talking about that first round game Flamengo lost? Thanks.
Social media. I would like you to watch the first round game again and see how much Neymar created in that match. So, like this, Flamengo dominated, Flamengo had the ball, Flamengo pressed the opponent high, Flamengo had all the control but didn't play a good game. We didn't have a good day on our left side, we didn't have a left back. In the second half, we faced many counterattacks and failed to recognize that this was Santos' strength, resulting in a counterattack goal late in the game. If I'm not mistaken, that was the first game's context. There's no more or less aggressive. Nothing compares to the team's attitude and motivation playing before 70,000 fans at Maracanã. Home will never feel the same as away because we know how strong our fans are. Today was absolutely incredible in my opinion. So much so that there wasn't just intensity, there was anxiety, and we sped up the game too much. And that made us suffer more counterattacks than in that first round match. But the goal didn't happen. In the second half, we understood that Santos' strength was counterattacks. We controlled the game better, were more patient with the ball, and created more chances. Santos' mistakes started to increase, and we managed to score our goals. It's simple, I'm rational, I never think about that emotional side you have, because on the field, what always matters, like I said, is the ball.
Good evening, Pablo Rafael from Voz do Ninho. Felipe, 3 weeks ago, Bruno Henrique faced heavy criticism. He was anyway on social media and also by the press. And after that interview where he said he didn't want to play as a number 9, he ended up performing better afterwards, did well against Sport. Today, once again, he was important and showed leadership on the field, playing a key role in this victory. That was his contribution. Was there any private conversation after that talk with him that restored the striker's confidence?
No, of course there are conversations. He's the team captain, one of the captains, and I talk to him a lot. I really believe in my players, in everyone who's here. All the players who play are the most exposed to criticism. At the year's start, Arrascaeta faced the most criticism because he was coming back from an injury, and it was almost like he didn't have to renew. And now that he renewed, because now he's the best player in Brazil, everyone can see it. So like whoever's on the field is being criticized, is being exposed to these criticisms. Bruno has always been willing to help the team wherever needed and does so sincerely. So for me, it's very natural, and the line between trust and losing trust is very thin. So he was going through a period of doubt. He played well against Sport, and today you can see he regained his confidence and leadership. And the compliments are already coming back, which for me are more for them, because I understand, I see every day what these players do, what they represent, and I know what they can deliver. The game that people often imagine with other players, it will never happen. So yes, as a coach, I have to make decisions, and I always make the decisions that I think are best. Sometimes, as I said, I will make mistakes, I will get things right, but they will always be my convictions.
Good evening, Felipe Marcelo Correa from Television Globo. My question is about this championship round by round with Palmeiras. It seems kind of obvious, but there's an emotional factor in preparing for the game, in the way you need to get the players to focus only on what they need to do. During the week and during the games, how has it been to control the emotional side of this squad in such a high-level competition with so little margin for error on both sides? And I just want to add, since you mentioned Bruno Henrique, I noticed since he said he feels challenged playing as a number 9, even though he's a reference player in the box in the lineups you've made. Many times, he seems to play a little more on the left side, not as a wide winger, but at an angle a bit more to the left, which makes it easier for him to open up his shooting angle. Did you get any guidance in that regard as well?
That's where the tactical game plan details come in, which I'd rather not get into. But Bruno has to perform a role just like all his teammates. They have a role on the field that I asked them to perform, and he's been doing that role very well. About the mental aspect you mentioned, the championship is very balanced and highly competitive. All of us have dropped points throughout this championship. All of us, at some point, according to the press, were the best team in the world. And the next week, someone else is the best. I was already seen as the world's best coach, but I was also Abel was already the best, Jardim was already the best, and it keeps changing week by week. So what's up with Flamengo? Flamengo has a bigger challenge, which is that the pressure is greater, the demands are higher, and the exposure of the players, the staff, everyone is bigger. Trying to think here. The pressure at Flamengo is greater than at other clubs. Even the way opponents come to play against Flamengo is different just because it's Flamengo. So we still face that. Besides, all teams make mistakes. In these decisive stages with more pressure, ultimately the team leading the table will be the mentally strongest and the best in the championship. That's why it's such a tough competitive championship and so hard to win. And we see in other championships in Europe with big teams like Real Madrid, they have more than 30 national championships, and here that's not the case. So because of the level of competitiveness and how hard it is to play against any team in the Brazilian championship.
Felipe, good evening. Gil, Superando Gigantes Sports Radio. Congratulations on the victory. Today is the 9th, a wonderful Sunday. Flamengo won, right? But the Libertadores final is in 20 days. There's no way, at least for me, to avoid this question. Especially because I, for example, live in São Paulo. And I hear some comments from some colleagues in São Paulo who say that Flamengo, excuse me for the expression, plays soft, giving the impression that they don't have drive, they don't have grit, they don't have the will. I want you, please, to express yourself about how you think this Flamengo will be, about the will of these athletes. On November 29th, there are only 20 days left. How do you imagine this team will play against Palmeiras? Because they say they focused on not the Palmeiras athletes. Thinking exclusively about this game with Flamengo. Thank you.
Did they focus thinking about the Flamengo game?
Yeah. There are reports going around, circulating, that the players got together in a meeting with Abel Ferreira, simply focusing on the game on the 29th.
Yeah. My players were focused on Santos. And now on sport. We have, as you said, 20 days until the final, and a lot will happen until then. And about the comments on my team, those are opinions. I absolutely respect all opinions. Thank you. Good night, everyone.